The friendship of Algu Chaudhary and Jumman Sheikh was household example in their village. Jumman was a staunch Muslim and Algu was a devout Hindu, but they thought on the same wavelength. Khala Jan was Jumman's rich, widowed aunt. She came to live with him as she had no other relative than him. She, in a bout of affection, transferred all her property in his name. Initially, Jumman's wife Kariman also looked after her with great affection and care. But slowly her attitude changed towards Khala Jan and it brought a change in the attitude of Jumman also. As time passed, their behavior changed from good to bad and bad to worse towards her. Kariman started taunting Khala Jan and did not give her 2 square meals gladly. One day Khala Jan called Jumman and asked him to pay her monthly allowance as she was finding it difficult to live with them. She was going hungry almost every day. She wanted to run a separate kitchen for herself. When Jumman showed his inability to pay her any amount, she became angry and threatened to call a panchayat. Please, do by all means, said Jumman as he was also irritated by these daily bickerings. Jumman was sure of winning at the panchayat because he was popular with the villagers and no one would go against him. If it came to taking sides between him and his aunt, old Khala Jan moved from one house in the village to the other for several days, garnering support for her case. At last, she went to Algu Chaudhary and pleaded with him to be present on the day the panchayat was to be held. He agreed on the condition that he would remain a silent spectator as Jumman was his closest friend. Khala Jan asked Algu,
Is your friendship more important than your integrity?
Algu did not say anything, but her comment made him think. The panchayat day arrived. Khala Jan narrated her tales of woes to those assembled and declared that she would abide by the panchayat's verdict. Panchayat asked Jumman, Whom do you want to appoint as Sarpanch, Jumman?
Let Khala Jan choose the Sarpanch as she has asked for a panchayat,
he said in anger. Khala Jan stressed.
The members of the panchayat are no one's friends or enemies. If you do not trust anyone else, you trust Algu Chaudhary, don't you?
She emphasized.
Well, let Algu Chaudhary be my Sarpanch.
Jumman was delighted in his heart. He could not ask for a better choice, but to show his unconcern, he said,
How does it matter if it be Ramdhan or Algu?
At this, Algu Chaudhary said,
Khala Jan, you know Jumman is my friend.
But Khala Jan, reposing her faith in him, said,
A panch is above friendship and enmity. It is God that speaks through a panch.
Algu, after being appointed Sarpanch, addressed Jumman.
You and I are old friends and we have always been helpful to each other. But before the panchayat, Khala Jan and you are equal. You are at liberty to plead your case as you want.
Jumman did not take Algu's impartial posture seriously, but he still addressed the panchayat gracefully and gave his version of the story. Algu was also not devoid of tactfulness in questioning. Algu's pointed questions were addressed to Jumman to shift the truth from the untruth, but Jumman felt that Algu was bent upon ruining their friendship. When Algu announced the panchayat's verdict, it was,
Jumman Sheikh, after carefully examining the points made by you and your Khala Jan, the panchayat has come to the conclusion that you must give Khala Jan a monthly maintenance allowance. You can afford to pay her out of the profits you get from her property. If you think the profits are not enough to do so, you are at liberty to return her property.
Jumman felt utterly let down by Algu's verdict. He broke his friendship with Algu instantly. Jumman's thirst for revenge on Algu intensified within him. It was not long before he got a chance to get even with Algu. Algu had bought a pair of bullocks a year back, but one of the bullocks died as Algu found it hard to get replacement for the dead bullock. He thought it better to sell the surviving one. He sold it to Sanju Sahu, who agreed to pay in a month's time. Sanju Sahu made the bullock pull his overloaded cart 3-4 times a day to and fro the market. He did not give the bullock sufficient time to recover his strength. One day, when the bullock had already pulled overloaded cart to the market and had been back many times, Sanju Sahu finally double loaded the cart. This time the bullock found it hard to pull. He collapsed and died on the spot. For some weeks thereafter, Algu did not remind Sanju Sahu for the payment. At last, when he asked Sanju Sahu to make the payment, he bluntly refused, saying, "You sold me a half-dead animal." Algu knew he had sold him a fit and healthy bullock, and Sanju Sahu was telling a lie by calling the animal as half-dead. It was Sanju Sahu himself who had not looked after the bullock. They were about to come to blows when some villagers suggested,
Let a panchayat be called to resolve the matter.
Without a moment's thought, Sanju appointed Jumman Sheikh as Sarpanch. Algu did not like it, but kept his poise. As soon as Jumman Sheikh took the position of a Sarpanch, a strange sense of responsibility dawned on him. He thought, I am now the arbiter of truth and justice. I must stick fast to the truth and not allow prejudice to take the upper hand. After hearing arguments from both Sanju Sahu and Algu Chaudhary, he pronounced the panchayat's verdict. It is only proper that Sanju Sahu should pay Algu Chaudhary the full price of his bullock, as he had agreed to. The animal when sold was fit and healthy and died due to the overwork and insufficient food. It is up to Algu Chaudhary to reduce the price if he chooses so. As for punishing Sahu for ill-treating the animal, it is beyond the jurisdiction of the panchayat, announced Jumman Sheikh. Algu Chaudhary never accepted Jumman Sheikh to pronounce a judgment in his favor, and so he could not help shouting joyously, Paanch Parmeshwar ki jai! Thus, both the friends were reunited. Jumman embraced Algu Chaudhary as he used to do before and said, Bhaiya, after you were Sarpanch at Khala Jan's Panchayat, I had become your bitter enemy, but today I have realized that for a Panch, enmity and friendship are not significant. What matters is truth and justice. The voice of Paanch Parmeshwar is the voice of God. Thus, they became friends as they were before.